Hello, I'm Sally Taylor from the Fico Scores Group, and I'm pleased to present the S for social because Fico's impact to social equity was one of the main reasons why I came to work for Fico. As a data scientist working on credit models in the late 80s, it was a crusade to replace human bias with data-driven science. And when the Fico scores were introduced in the US in 1989, it meant lenders of all sizes could leverage the technology of scoring to open up their credit box to consumers that they might not have lent to in the past. This was one of the contributors to the tremendous market expansion during the 90s and up to now. And that expansion created economic opportunity for many. Credit, when it's offered responsibly, is a social good. For many, it creates an opportunity to improve their life circumstances, to get an education, to buy a car to get to work, or to own their home. So we, all of us here, provide that social good as long as we do it in a way that is both responsible and fair. Credit scoring, as introduced by Fico in the 1950s, way back then, plays a big role in that. But that was then. What does it take to make a social impact today? For Fico, it means taking the technology global, including credit markets that are less developed, where a larger part of the population is underserved. And even beyond the Fico scores on traditional data, we've also developed scores that were specifically designed for financial inclusion. For example, as you saw in the video, with our partner in Mexico, Circulo. Jointly, we launched the Fico Extended Score, leveraging Circulo's unique household data assets. And with that, Circulo have helped an additional 22 million Mexicans obtain credit score and put them on a path towards credit access. In addition to Circulo, we have Fico scores to support economic inclusion in South Africa, India, and the Philippines, and others. In fact, solutions developed by the Fico scores team to enable credit access can enable credit access for an estimated 1.3 billion consumers globally using alternative data. Financial inclusion also means investing in innovation. It means investing in research to validate forms of alternative data. It means integrating new technologies into lenders' workflows and into lenders' operations. It means forming unique multi-party partnerships, such as we did with Equifax and LexisNexis on Fico Score XD in the US. There we use the Equifax's NCTUE database that looks at telco and utility data, as well as property and record data from LexisNexis. And then there's the Ultra Fico score, where we partnered with Experian and Finicity, who's a data aggregator that's part of MasterCard. In addition to traditional credit data, the Ultra Fico score reviews open banking or consumer permission data, such as how the consumer handles their finances, as you can see from their checking and savings accounts. This groundbreaking score allows consumers to give permission to share their data from their accounts, putting that consumer in control of their data sharing. I'm happy to announce that we've completed the pilot of the Ultra Fico score, where over 35,000 consumers shared their data with lenders, and lenders were able to integrate this technology, this advanced technology, into their underwriting workflows and safely grant credit where they may have previously been declined. And finally, you can't talk about social good without talking about integrity. Integrity is reflected in two key principles that we stand for: transparency and responsibility. We supported score transparency since we led the industry in the first direct-to-consumer FICO scores through myfico.com in 2000. And then again with the open access program that we launched in 2013. Hundreds of lenders in the US are part of this open access program, where the FICO score that's used by a financial institution is shared with the consumer for free. Through that program, and many other ways for a consumer to access their FICO score, we offer reason codes and educational material to provide insight to the consumer on their score. And through MyFICO, we also offer score simulators, which is even another level of transparency. And in many US markets, we offer a program called Score Better Future. This is where consumers can get their score. They can understand what impacts their score. They have free access to independent third-party credit counselors, and they can take control of their credit and their future. In other words, we help consumers help themselves and identify ways to better credit outcomes. And that, in turn, means that there are more knowledgeable consumers. When we develop new versions of the FICO score, we keep the impact to the consumers very much at the forefront of our design decisions so that we can stand behind this principle of transparency. When I talk about integrity, I don't just mean the integrity of what FICO does. I also mean the integrity and the soundness of the credit ecosystem. Because FICO's not just another vendor. The FICO score, as with other FICO solutions, lies at the very core of how the credit world operates. When we create new versions of the FICO score, we do it to benefit you and the consumers, your customers, and the soundness of the credit ecosystem. And you can count on us to do nothing less than that. Take financial inclusion. One way to score more people in the US would be to eliminate the minimum scoring criteria. These are the rules that are used to ensure that there's enough information on the report to provide a reliable score on the consumer. But is eliminating the minimum scoring criteria the best way? No, it's not. You need to know when you have a score on a consumer that you're getting a solid indication of credit risk. You need to know that you're not putting the consumer at greater risk of a foreclosure because a score used in a mortgage decision was based on a small amount of data or stale data. We believe that the best way to score more people, as we'll discuss on Wednesday, is to use more data, to leverage alternative data to shine a light on the people who are currently credit invisible. This is the responsible way to broaden financial inclusion and have more credit for those who don't have a traditional credit report. This is how we do that, including for immigrants who are new to the country, young people who are trying to gain a foothold in credit, or those with past mistakes who are rebuilding their credit. FICO is leading the charge in this front, and that's what I mean when we talk about integrity. The S in ESG requires us to consider the collective social good. How can we improve financial inclusion? How can we use innovation to bring more people the financial resources they need? And how can we do this with integrity to make sure that we manage risk in a sound manner for the good of the lender and the borrower and the whole credit ecosystem? These are the big challenges, and we're here to help you meet them. Our goal is to help you lend to more people responsibly and be able to explain every decision you make using FICO analytics. So now let me turn it over to Scott Zoldi, our Chief Analytics Officer, and Courtney Abercrombie, founder of AI Truth, to discuss the G in ESG.